Oh, hello, and welcome to Anime Rigamortis, brought to you by Al Dente Rigamortis and the Roleplaying Exchange. I'm your host, Review Cultist, and tonight we have a special guest.
Hello, this is Adam from the Roleplaying Exchange. I feel kind of naked without having my own special voice. I'll have to work on that in the future.
I mean, it's sometimes worth it. It's worth the throat issues. As I sip down some water. Yeah, so we're doing another anime Rigamortis. The previous one was with Kame House Party, but the one that really kind of got my idea for this was I was listening to Roleplaying Exchange's interview with Noah and Aaron from Thinking Too Hard About Anime, which is the sister podcast, I guess, to Kame House Party, and it brought to light something I didn't know about you, Adam, which is that you basically grew up on the same kind of anime that I did. And like, again, listening to that show, listening to like Kame House Party and Think Too Hard About Anime and that interview that you did, it kind of got me back into the anime groove after like a long period of like just like casual like observance from like the outside again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought it was out, but they brought me back in.
It always happens, man.
Yeah. So yeah, and you mentioned one of the animes that you'd grown up on was 3x3 Eyes, and I was like, oh my god, I love 3x3 Eyes. I didn't realize you also watched that stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I have like a weird, really weird relationship with anime because, this has been stated on the episode which you were referring to with Noah and Aaron, but basically, growing up in rural Kentucky, I think some of the first anime exposures I had was like my mother would go to a video rental place and pick up. Well, that looks like a cartoon, and it's got a ninja on it. Like, I'm sure my son will like it. And I
then
mean, I got
was
yeah,
that Ninja Scroll?
it was something of that caliber. I cannot find what it was, but I can remember the two main characters having sex on a boat, and like as an early age, like that stuck in my mind. I was like, what is that? And it was blood and guts and all that. So I cannot. It may be Ninja Scroll. I don't want to watch Ninja Scroll just because if it is it and I see it again, then it'd be like kind of. So
Yeah.
I had exposure like this, and when my parents finally bought the old school satellite dish that you basically we didn't have one that you hand cranked around. I mean, it was about the size of a child's like swimming pool, kind of like the way the dish was shaped.
Yeah.
And when I had that, that's whenever I really started to jump into the anime wormhole. And there was a channel which I can't even tell you the name of. It's been so long ago. I think it was on satellite S11 or something crazy like that. It's funny what sticks with you, but they would air just different anime movies or series every like Saturday night. So I actually started in my teens. I started watching that, and I got to see things like Doom Megalopolis, Castle Lupin. That's Lupin, Castle Cagliostro, excuse me. Several things like that. And 3x3 Eyes was the one. Honestly, looking back to it, like I think that's the first anime series I really got to sit down and watch. Like a series of most of the things that I had seen were just maybe 2 hour extended movie kind of deals like that. But yeah, I love it, and I'm glad to talk to you about it.
Excellent. Yeah, my kind of start was like I got pretty young into it. Like, again, when I was young, when I was like in like elementary and stuff like that, we watched like I was definitely I was a morning kid. So like those years are gone. but I would watch, like, I would get up at like 5 a.m. and watch like Canadian broadcast television that was like for like the kids that stayed for the adults that like were just about to go to bed, or the kids that got up late or got up early enough to watch like more mature stuff. So, and by mature stuff I mean like Gundam Wing.
Yeah.
and like Hello Kitty and like that kind of like those kind of things. Like those were they for some reason they decided to put like that kind of anime at like 5 o'clock in the morning or
Wicked
6 o'clock.
City.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually know about Wicked City until much more recently. um, but yeah. So and like through my high school years, I watched like Dragon Ball Z, those kind of things. Gundam Wing, like I said, Escaflowne, 3x3 Eyes, which is the one we're covering today. Again, Anime Rigamortis. We're kind of diving more into like animes that have horror aspects, and like because anime does kind of have kind of a creepypasta-esque vibe sometimes, especially like even like you're saying, like I remember this as a child, but like now, like it's like I don't know if like exactly what the channel was, so it's almost like a lost episode in itself. Like trying to reminisce on like something that was affected you in your childhood.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember finding 3x3 Eyes in high school, as the manga. I didn't even know there was an anime really until like much later. And around this time in like high school and stuff, the animes I was like finding at the local rental store was like um, uh, Blood the Last Vampire, which is like a horror. Like it was like a one shot OVA that they eventually, like down the road, like a decade later, they turned into an anime series that was a little bit more cheerful. But this one was definitely like a horror one. Like the first OVA they did. So those were the kind of animes I started with, and around this time I had found like I would go to the local comic shop and they'd sell manga series of like Gundam Wing and like these other ones, and I found this one by Dark Horse called Super Manga Blast, and it just had like, it was kind of like a Shonen Jump, but like for like a slightly more mature content,
Yeah.
or slightly more like more mature manga series. I think they had Pat Labar in it, and a few other like less young teen friendly stuff. And 3x3 Eyes had a few chapters in it, and it really kind of like shook me or got me interested into the series, because it involved like like transformation, and there's some nudity, and there's some gore, and I was like, okay, I kind of like this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was getting into that, like the horror. It was definitely piquing my horror, like gorehound kind of mentality at the time. So I attempted to hunt down, through the next couple of years, all of the volumes that I could that were translated from Dark Horse, which I found out was like volume 1 through 8, which I now own, of 40 volumes, as I've discovered recently.
Oh, God.
So I'm just going to give a little bit of a breakdown about 3x3 Eyes here, like a little bit of its publication history, and then also like what the show entails, because we haven't really gotten into that yet.
Okay.
So Yuzu Takada started the series back in 1987, and the main series didn't end until 2002.
Wow.
Yeah, Dark Horse translated the English, some English volumes up to basically volume 8. But because of like how slow it took them to pump them out, they just and I think they either lost the rights or they just stopped publication. They canceled it. And the series of 3x3 Eyes follows Yakumo, a high schooler who's been turned into an immortal servitor, and Pi, the last surviving member of a Triclops race of supernatural demon people, who wished and she wishes to become human. And over the course of the series, at least the stuff I've read and watched, they travel across Asia in search of a means to this goal, while gathering friends, facing enemies, and uncovering the mysteries of Pi and her past. Because she's also Pi is like this, has a very like sweet girl kind of personality, but as soon as her third eye opens up, a secondary identity comes into play that's formed over the course of like the Pi and the first personality and second personality, kind of like, I guess they split or formed
Yeah, like
over the course of
once
her,
a
like,
sleeper kind of personality.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
And we find out in the series that it was because like over the course of like 300 years of her life, like waiting, or like trying to find herself, or like wait, or like since the events of like what happened to her, it was kind of a defense mechanism to like save her from the horror that she was exposed to prior to the 300 years until the present.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's this, and that one is called the Sanjian, which is I think the actual name for the Triclops race. They're called the Sanjian. And so it's just known as the Sanjian, and Pai's more plucky personality is kind of like the more human angle, or the more human personality, whereas this one is more of like the demonic, strict, like kind of no nonsense occult personality.
Yeah.
And it shows up periodically, and there's like conflict between it and Yakumo, or like, because it has a very imperious view of Yakumo, because Pai and Sanjian are the reason why Yakumo is an immortal zombie servitor to Pai, because like day one, Yakumo, in an attempt to defend Pai from a monster, got killed, and then Sanjian took his soul and absorbed it and turned him into her personal servitor. So,
like you do.
yeah, like you do. It was a match made in heaven or hell.
Yeah.
As yeah, the series then, like after that, it's basically an occult adventure with horror and romance aspects, as Yakumo and Pai form a very strong kind of relationship over the course of the series, in their goal to become human again.
Yeah.
So, and the anime, so yeah, that was like, that's basically the manga that like I grew up on during my like my high school years and like into early college. And then you brought up like that there was an anime like a few months back, and then after about like 2 months of waiting to get my copy of the anime, I finally acquired it and gave it a watch. And I noticed a few things about kind of revisiting 3x3 Eyes. The first one being that like the anime is basically a speed run through the story arcs of the manga through volumes 1 through 8. Like leading up to basically like the end of the Kunlun conflict and Pai's regaining of her memory.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's four episodes in the first OVA, which is 3x3 Eyes, and then sorry, it's the first the first OVA is Immortals, and it's four chapters, and then there's a second OVA that's a sequel to that called Legend of the Divine Demon, that is 3 episodes long. And this was also my introduction to animes that have that go past like the 22-24 minute mark, because that had always been like my knowledge into anime, was that like they're like regular TV segment episodes. I'd never really seen an anime that went longer than that. Like, and each of these 6 episodes go on for like 45-50 minutes, if not longer.
Yeah.
So it kind of blew my mind.
So yeah, even though you're getting 4 episodes in season 1, each one is about double episodes. So I mean, you're getting like, somewhere between 8 or 9 in content, which I mean, I'm kind of the opposite. Everything I had seen was like a fully feature film. So
Yeah.
whenever like I had to ease myself down to the motto of like Guts and God, what's the one with D the vampire? Not Vampire Hunter D, but
Uh.
Helsing.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And stuff like that, like it when it was smaller, like so it's just kind of an interesting observation there. Uh, Now I do want to go ahead and jump the gun here a tad bit,
Sure.
because you noticed something in your referencing this anime series that I didn't pick up on in the very beginning, or I have just lost in the sands of time, since I don't think I've seen this since, oh shit, like I bought the DVDs when I was in college, so sometime in early 2000s. But
Yeah.
who's our special guests are on this
Yeah.
vocal?
So like first episode of the show, I'm sitting down and watching it, and there's a character that's Yakumo's boss. She's a I think she in the series she's either a former or current Yakuza member, and she's I'm guessing transgendered because they
Japan does stuff differently.
Japan, yeah. Yeah, like because he works at like a bar, but he has Yakumo works at a bar where male characters are dressed up as women,
Mm-hmm.
and the boss, I think that's all her name um, is yeah always presenting of that as that, and in the anime, I didn't I as soon as she started talking, I was like, holy shit, it's Keith motherfucking David of Goliath and Gargoyles. And I was like, what? And I did a little bit of digging. The English dub voice, some of the English dub voice actors are were also members of the cast for Gargoyles, the TV show, and it just blew my mind.
Hey, Keith David's got bills, son. He gotta get paid.
Yeah, no, and he does. He whenever the boss is on the episode, like Keith David like chews up the scenery with his dialogue. Like he nails it. It was really fun to hear to see that. But yeah, there's some other things about the series that are kind of interesting and I'm not sure if problematic, but
well, we're able to look at stuff through the lens of time, and not
yeah,
saying that these issues weren't problematic then, but either through our inexposure to more complex ideas,
yeah,
or just being naive in general. Like I like Great Teacher Onizuka in the beginning, but when as a 40-year-old man, I sit there and start like, hey, I'm like, oh my god, Stranger Danger, somebody's on a watch list.
To be fair, actually, I had a recent thing because I just recently finished My Hero Academia, and there's a villain at the end that's like very like he's like not he's a non-villain, like he's a villain that doesn't want to hurt people, he just wants to be infamous. And he's going around, he's got white hair and like looks like an older guy. He's 32.
Oh god.
Which I was like, wow, thanks anime. Make me feel no, I think he's 34, but it's like, yeah, he makes me like, yeah, and he has a very small petite girlfriend in the show, and I'm like, how old is she? And I looked it up, like I Wikipedia'd it because I had to, like I was like, I'm not sure how comfortable I am with this. She's 22 and he's 32, 34. I guess that's kind of okay, but it really like it's a bit of a stretch.
Well, I tell you what, to go ahead and start our reflection on something that we had enjoyed as a child, or not child, but when we were younger.
as young in our youth.
Now, and I was actually trying to. Well, I'm in my room now, walking around, trying to make it over to my collection of PlayStation 3 games because I am going to tie it in with something.
Yeah,
But basically, Pi is the character. Pi is what I want to talk about for a moment, and was hit some familiar anime tropes that one might encounter. Okay, so Pi, we have the personality is very like childlike in a way,
very
and
naive to the world.
naive, innocent. She's depicted as being an attractive woman and stuff like that. And then you have the more assertive personality. What was that one's name again? It's been a long time.
Sanjian.
Sanjian. And she's a domineering one. And but at the same time, like I think that this is like you're really condensing some anime tropes here. So you've got the innocent girl next door, and then you have the bossy one that's swinging around a blade,
Yeah,
practicing this
or
stuff.
the giant bat, like that
Yeah.
kind of like almost like Sundari a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
to reference another otaku, like another anime weeb trope.
Yeah. And it's almost like a harem in a way, if you wanted to think
Kind
about
of
it. Like
is.
it,
Yeah.
it reminds me of an actual video game that I bought for the PlayStation 3 called Time and Eternity. Because I'm one of these people who's like, ooh, NIS America just released a game. I'll take a look at it. And, sometimes these are problematic, but it's even a game that has like one princess has her sister inhabits her body as well. And then as the game switches between the sister and The one is the personality, like, you know, you got two people, but you got one kind of thing right there that your main protagonist is after. I don't know why I remember that. I want to make a correlation to a PlayStation 3 game, but yeah, you have you got again the girl next door, and then the strong, domineering one. And like, am I mistaken, or doesn't Sanjian also develop some affection towards our main character throughout the course of the anime?
Yeah, in the anime, in the manga, as a volume 8, she's still she does, but she's also still she's definitely a lot more of a like obnoxious like kind of bully to him. But in the anime, by the end of the anime, yeah, she definitely has, like, she softens up a lot more to him. Like, but it's still kind of like a master slave kind of thing, but it's definitely softer than it initially was.
Yeah, there's some subconscious kind of like issues that somebody was battling with, or with.
Yeah, I have to wonder sometimes with it's especially since the series has been ran for so long. Like, it's so interesting to see like how things were, like how views were as in like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And I wonder like how it progressed into like the 2000s, if it did at all.
So, do you have anything to add about Pai and Sanjian, other than my initial reflection?
Not, I mean, for them, like you said, it is kind of like almost, it's almost like a twin sistery kind of relationship they have. And then there's also like this is going to be confusing some things, but like, there is an arc halfway through the first like few volumes, and like halfway through the series, or like at the end of 3x3 Eyes, the Immortals arc, I guess, and leading into the Legend of the Divine Demon arc, we see that there's now a third personality of sorts that kind of is brought in, because Pai forgets or loses her memories between arcs because of an incident that happens at the end of the first arc. And she now is a schoolgirl. Like, she's no longer the naive like of the human world, like the naive girl who only speaks of a little bit of Japanese, and like doesn't know about the human world that much, and like Yakuma has to like kind of lead her through the culture shock. This next arc, she's basically like, she's a schoolgirl. She goes to school. She has friends. She has grandparents, because apparently there's like the story is that her parents died in a car accident, and like that's what caused her amnesia in Hong Kong. And then we discover later, spoilers for a series that is, when did this come out? 1991? No, or 1995, 1996 is when this anime came out. So spoilers to that. That it's revealed that, and also spoilers to the manga, but whatever. That's even older. This personality was implanted by one of the lead adversaries of the series. I cannot remember his name at the moment, but basically, like, it's a snake demon that he implanted in her mind after like the last conflict they had, and it was supposed to usurp Pai's personality, but it kind of merged with it. So yeah, it adds complications, and that one, and like it's really kind of heartfelt, because by the end of that arc, this personality realizes that it's some kind of some kind of a third implanted personality, and by helping Yakumo, who it's become like fond of and like fallen in love with, it's going to destroy itself. But if it means that Pai and Yakumo will still be together, then that's okay. And it ends up like basically sacrificing its personality, its identity, to save Yakumo. So like, yeah, basically, yeah, it really is kind of a harem now that I think about it.
Oh my god!
It's a sleeper. It's a sleeper harem, because the series is supposed to be more about like Pai, but it is also about Yakumo. They kind of share the spotlight, like intermittently in the series.
And
Yakumo.
He's kind of like a bullet sponge, more or less, at
Oh
least
yeah,
in the earlier episodes, and then yeah, I tell you what, this is probably a good time us to kind of talk about Yakumo because I remember beans about him, but at the same time, like I remember the series starts with man who's good intentioned. Like it's a very common trope. I think like didn't Tenchi Moya have like
yeah.
begin
Tenchi
with some?
Moya, basically, it's that archetype where like the character is like the friendly, like nice to everybody, like no, not a really not a bad bone in their body, kind of trope.
Hmm.
And Yakumo's kind of like that. I mean, he still has some spots like he's I'd say he's a little bit more interesting than Tenchi from Tenchi Moyo
Yeah.
because he's at least like later Tenchi. I guess if you ever watch the early Tenchi Moyo stuff, he's also kind of got similar like flaws in his personality or in his character, but he kind of like evens. They kind of like either fade away because everything else is just so much more interesting than Tenchi in that series,
Yeah.
or he just becomes a lot more two dimensional. But yeah, in 3x3 Eyes, Yakumo starts off like he's trying to like rescue this like homeless girl basically, who seems to have a connection to him through his Call of Cthulhu investigator father, essentially.
Hmm.
Like his father is straight out of a Call of Cthulhu scenario, like an occult adventurer, like almost like an academic type that's like that travels the world looking for strange supernatural like artifacts and such. Um, and like near like right in that first like encounter, like after like I think a day or so in that encounter, a monster like this monster bird Takumi um is found ravaging around the city looking for Pai. And then it goes to attack Pai, and Yakumo jumps in the way, getting impaled by its claws.
Yeah.
And then see the thing I said earlier, where like Sanjian opens up its third eye and absorbs Yakumo's soul to save him and turn him into a zombie, basically, like an immortal servitor that like no matter how many hits he takes, he'll always regenerate within seconds. So like he could, and in the series we get that like he falls from like great heights, he gets hit by buses, he gets shot, he gets limbs cut off.
Yeah.
It's and every time he just kind of like some smoke kind of like fills back into the wounds and heals him instantly. So yeah, he's now what is called a Wu in the series, which means which is I believe Chinese for void,
Yeah. I believe that's correct. I remember that.
which I think ties into the fact that like he's now soulless because the soul is now combined with that of Sanjian.
Yeah.
So they're now intrinsically tied. Like he will never die, and he's kind of like the Renfield to Pai's Dracula. As like he is kind of like her protector, her minion. And as long as she doesn't die, he will never die, no matter how badly he gets killed or how badly he gets like wounded and stuff.
Fucked up power fantasy, isn't it?
It really kind of is now you think about it. Yeah, now that I think about it, like even I think even back in the day, like when I first found the manga, I was like, yeah, it was definitely like one of those like boyish kind of daydream things or
Yeah.
boyish kind of fantasies of like having a monster girl friend, basically, and being able to protect them.
Yeah.
It's definitely got that kind of that young that more youthful kind of fantasy that boys have sometimes.
Oh God, and it's really kind of unhealthy too, because I was thinking about this a lot as we. Well, you prepped a hell of a lot more than me. I just kind of fly off the seat of my pants anyway. But like, here's something that occurs to me, and I forgot about the father. So essentially, like, and this is a common trope, and not just anime, but just unfortunately, I think literature from everywhere. Like the a female figure is a prize. It's something to be won. It's something to be protected. Like if
Yeah,
you're, and it, these things will appear to our appeal, excuse me, to our misguided notions as teenagers, and people discovering what love is and stuff like that. Like with the notion of if I'm a if I'm just a good person, and if I do the blah blah blah, then this is like I'm going to get the girl at the end. Mario gets the princess at the end of the castle. Uh, y- Yak, I almost called Yakus,
Yakumo. Yeah,
Yakumo. Like Pi is pretty much destined to him and all that. Like it's just like a very unfortunate common trope.
yeah,
Now, here's where it gets disturbing. She's his birthright through his father's interactions. Have you picked up on that?
kind of right. Yeah, because because it's. I always thought it was just basically like a passing of the torch of like duty to Pi. Like her like his dad promised Pi that he would help her be human, but then he got injured, like gravely injured, and died. So he told Pi to go find his son Yakumo, and he will continue his father's like work, basically.
God.
But
But
I could see that as well.
yeah, well, I mean, fuck it, and they use this trope everywhere. Like, have you seen Tron 2? Did you
Yeah.
watch
Oh my
like
god.
the girl? Like, yes, she was like that's his birthright. Like, it's a common trope, and I'm not going to just shit on like Japanese anime
No,
for
we did
them.
it in the Western cultures as well.
Yeah, and I mean these are maybe things I'm more hypersensitive to now, as you know, as a teacher, as someone who works with young people, as a father of two daughters and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you know, this is another one of those instances when I watched something that I watched through different eyes, and then uh, I don't see the same thing all over again and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
The
Now this,
rose-colored glasses are off,
oh
and you
God, yeah,
suddenly see something else.
and
Yeah.
it's not to say that this is a bad series. Like for what it is, like I loved it. I loved the action in it, the storyline. I'm sitting there pulling for Yakumo and Pi to get together and stuff like that. I mean, it's my soap opera. It's just my stories.
It really, yeah, it kind of has like a soap opera like I think a lot of anime like their romance angles are very soap opera esque,
Hmm.
which seems fitting because they're a lot of them like they treat it like slice of life kind of stuff
Yeah,
when it comes to that kind of stuff, and then they just throw in like random supernatural and sci-fi elements
mhm.
occasionally.
And they won't complete it in one episode. Like they could fall in love by episode two, but then what the fuck is everybody else going to be kind of cheering for as it
Yeah.
goes on and stuff?
Well, again, like the series went on for like 40 volumes over the course of 2 decades.
I would,
No, okay, only just over a decade and a half, because it's 87 to 2002. So that's about almost 14 years, I think. That he wrote and drew this manga series, and like it. I betting like after volume 8, it was still will they won't they through
yeah.
up until they became human. I hope they became human by the end. I need to sit down and like read some scanlated episode editions of the series online. I know there are some websites online that you can actually go and find scanlations of the series. I did poke my head in, and it gets weird. like like they're walking, like there was a few snippets I gleaned into where they're walking among a of like a kingdom or a village of demon people. So I guess they went to hell or some other like or to like the demon dimensions or something. Maybe because they're no longer like there's parts in the later volumes where they're just no longer walking among humans. They're walking among monster folk. So yeah, it's interesting.
That's why
I don't
I think good animes end after two seasons tops.
yeah. Honestly, this series, I feel like actually maybe that might have been why they canceled it at volume 8, because it is kind of a decent like I mean it doesn't resolve the long-term goal of becoming human, but it does wrap up two major arcs in the
Yeah,
series. Like they actually do fight Benaris, I think, is the main antagonist. Cuz he's the immortal servitor to the to Pai's former husband, um from like back when the Sanjian like race existed.
yeah.
That's a whole other, like that's the other thing I guess we should also bring up. So it is also revealed over the course of like the anime and in these 8 volumes of manga that the reason why the Triclops race went extinct was because one of their head members basically became a demon or a demon god in his pursuit for power, and got corrupted. So he basically wanted to wage war on humanity, and the Triclops being relatively peaceful, they rebelled against their fascist dictator, and were slaughtered to a T. Or I think they sacrificed them, all of them except for Pi, in an attempt to seal him away. And so for 300 years, Cayenne Wang, the big bad Triclops, demon god, has been like slumbering in his home of Rylai. I mean, Kunlun. I got some words about that later. Yeah, and then like Benares has been out in the world, basically biding his time, trying to find a way to revive his Dark Lord. So, just going back to the anime series. So yeah, some more observances I noticed, like watching it. It's definitely of that era of the early '90s. Like, it almost like I googled it to try and see it to confirm, and it isn't by them, but it almost looked like by the same team that did Akira, or like the original Bubblegum Crisis anime series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, two anime series that were influential at this time of like when I was watching anime. While still maintaining the same kind of manga style that Yuzo Takada employs in the manga. Like, it still looks like the manga's art, the manga art style, but it also feels at times kind of like the Akira and Bubblegum Crisis anime style, which I think is just a product of being from like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
There's definitely some oddities in the series as well. I noticed some of the characters, like, they have pointed ears, and that usually is a signifier of them being a supernatural entity, like being secretly a supernatural entity. Like, there's several characters that are introduced in the first arc that like, everyone else has normal human ears except for these like three, and two of them turn out to be either obliquely or secretively bad guys, or like bad supernatural characters, or like demon entities. The one that isn't, keeps throwing me off, is Li Ling Ling. She's the reporter for the occult magazine, and like kind of like a exorcist for hire, but she doesn't quite believe in any of it. She's like the skeptic of that magazine.
The Shane Madej.
Yeah, and she's got like pointy ears, and like I kept expecting it to be revealed that she had some kind of like demonic trait or like some kind of supernatural thing, but she never really does. It's never brought up in the 8 volumes of manga or the anime OVAs. So I'm wondering, like, maybe down the road, if I read through the next 39 or no, like next 30 some odd volumes of manga, it'll be revealed that she was, but it just seemed like an odd addition, or like an odd little like trait to add, especially since the.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, just like, especially since every other character we've seen that has like pointy ears in the series turns out to be of a demonic persuasion.
It's the guy with the gun. There's like a detective or PI.
Oh yeah, the John McClane character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the Han Solo type, because he's like an American occult adventurer, and he shows up in the second arc when they're like trekking through China to try and find the lost city of the Sanjian, the Kunlun. Yeah, I think he's regular. I think he looks like he's got normal ears.
Okay, I couldn't remember
if
he was like it or not.
Yeah, no, he's got normal ears as far as I can tell.
Does he die? I can't remember.
No, he gets very badly hurt, but he eventually I think he breaks some bones and stuff. But again, spoilers. I should just stop doing spoilers. He ends up back in Los Angeles, or back in the States, and like with a girlfriend and stuff like that. Like when he's talking on the phone with his monk friend from Tibet. It's shown like him like basically like recovering and like with a girlfriend in the Americas. So
I remember that character more than I do the reporter and stuff like that. Because I mean, he had something to do in the final episodes. I remember that.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, again, something against the anime is the anime like basically just takes the first like it is 4 episodes that are all like about just less than an hour long, but they streamlined so much into that series that like and like there's so much more character development of these characters in the manga. Um, it was almost like it's like it almost felt like a movie adaptation rather than an anime,
Yeah,
like rather than an anime series. Like it could have basically they could have just like combined the OVAs together into one, and it would have just been a movie basically, covering the first like handful of manga issues.
I honestly think that's probably what it was. Really, I mean,
Yeah,
it's broken up, but yeah,
yeah. Uh, I will say that the anime definitely has a lot more censorship on fan service than the manga does. The manga definitely has a lot more nudity, more of the female nudity, I should say,
yeah.
because Japan.
Hmm.
And like a lot of scenes that I saw in the book in the manga that translate into the anime, they definitely like were a lot more conservative over like what they showed, which is points.
Yeah, I can definitely go with it.
Um, we do get a much more, although the body horror in one part of the second arc, we definitely get a lot more of that in the manga than the anime. So in the manga or in the second arc of the series of the OVA, there's a doll demon that's basically been like orchestrating Pai's amnesia and like why and like basically her whole like her backstory in the second arc of like being a schoolgirl and like having friends and having grandparents and stuff. That was all basically fabricated by this doll demon that's been like kind of orchestrating her life. And it's a bit more body horror in the manga than the anime, with Pai's friends from school being turned into a merged doll monster set. Like just transmorgified by the demon into these doll monsters. Rather than in the anime, it's just there's 2 dolls that take them hostage and possess them. Like there's no like mutation; their bodies don't more change into doll people. um, so I feel like I like the manga's take more than the anime because it was a little bit more of a horror angle there. But
Okay.
yeah, that's just me.
No, I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's just been too long for me to remember that, and I've never have seen the manga.
Yeah.
I just Googled right now as we were sitting there, and this is how old this son of a bitch is. Like, you know how GeoCities is turned into something
Oh
something
no.
cities and all that. I'm like, I found a picture of an accidental groping and stuff like that. So the anime did actually have those in it, but I don't see a hell of a lot. But that's good because I'd hate to have my my children walk in like, Dad, Dad,
What are you looking at?
don't judge me. But you know, as you're talking about the differences and stuff like that, I do kind of want to return quickly to the concept of there being, 2 distinct series with this right here on the video. And I always thought it was kind of fun that like the first season, he's just getting his ass kicked. And then the
Yeah.
second season, you get that power fantasy. And like, it's almost like, I mean, they're 2 separate stories. I mean, it doesn't even feel like a continuation in a way. It's like, he's trying to save the girl in the beginning, but at the end, he always has to rely upon her. And then as it keeps going and he's needing to rescue her from, the
The doll
trance, like
monsters.
yeah,
Yeah.
that she's been put into, all of a sudden, he's just, like, jumping on the scene.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing in the first series. Like he's a fledgling uh, immortal servitor versus like a centuries or like millennial old servitor to like the main adversary. So he gets punked so many times in the main series because he's like just out of zombiehood, I guess, or just into zombiehood.
Yeah,
Um, and then and then after the events of the end of the season 1 or arc 1, um, like Pi goes missing, and so they endeavor, like Yakumo and friends endeavor to try and find her, and he goes on like this trek through China looking for her, so that they can both become human again. And then it cuts to 4 years later, and then Yakumo is actually it's a nice switch over, because at the very beginning of the first arc, Pi was the homeless girl on the streets of Tokyo looking for Yakumo, and now it's Yakumo as like in almost the same outfit and like and equipment on the streets of Tokyo. After 4 years of training and searching for Pi, he's returned back to Tokyo to find her as a school, like in school, and without any of her memories from the previous arc.
Yeah.
So it's a nice, almost like it's like a role reversal, and then in his attempt to like help Pi gain her memories back, it's revealed that like he's been training for these 4 months, or these 4 years to search for it. Yes, sorry, I just saw the 10 reasons Dark Horse needs to finish releasing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 2017.
Oh God. Yeah. So yeah, it's we get like information of like he's not just been like physically training, he's been training into the occult. Like he's able to summon demon creature, like demon like tools, basically, like these earth claws, the Taucho or the Tochao, that were a menace in one of the arcs, or one of the initial mysteries in the first arc. He's now able to summon those as a weapon, as a supernatural weapon against his foes in the second arc. So like, yeah, it's definitely kind of like it's that anime trope of like the character starts off very weak but like striving to be stronger, and then in the second season he's got some tricks and he's definitely improved. You can see character improvement.
Mm-hmm. Which is
he's
a unique
powered up.
This is a unique little device of being able to, add longevity to anything that you're working on too, if you kind of turn the main concept kind of on its ears, so to speak.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's about. Do you have anything else that could be said about the main series? About like what about your recollect about the anime?
Well,
or should we move on to the?
Well, I think if I were gonna like to sum up the anime discussion in general, I think it's worth watching. I pointed out the problematic elements, but you're going to have that with a lot of stuff, and even stuff that comes out nowadays. There's a very juvenile approach to certain aspects of relationships, and being aware of that, sitting down, it's entertaining. I look forward to watching it again now that I know Keith David's in the thing. So I'm
Yeah.
because I meant to watch this before we did this. I was like, I got time to do it, and then life.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But it's pretty cool. I'm glad that you went out and purchased this. It was something that I always look fondly upon. And whenever you mentioned to me previous, in our private conversations that, oh my God, you know about 3x3 Eyes, and I sent you the link to the DVD collection that you ordered and was held hostage in Kentucky for ever
because of pandemic, and delivery delays. Yeah, I had to wait like a month and a half almost to get my copy. I'm really sad that I looked online. I'm pretty sure I looked around. I could not find a streaming service that actually has it. I have Funimation now, and I'm pretty sure it's not on there, and I don't think it's on Crunchyroll.
The best that you could do, and if anyone of you all at home are kind of listening to this here, which we hope you are, otherwise we're just talking into the void.
We're talking into the woo.
We're talking into the woo. You can find, you can do like YouTube videos of it. You can type in like 3x3 Eyes episode 1.
Oh, okay. So there are like that.
And the one that I'm pulling up looks like it's only 26 minutes long.
So it's probably not the full thing.
And it's really crappy quality. You should probably just try to buy it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I went on Amazon and I was like, oh no, that's like $150. No, thank you. And then I went to eBay and was able to find it for about like $35.
Yeah, which is probably what it would have cost when it came out, since it was a 2-disc set.
Yeah, by Pioneer. But but yeah, so yeah, I'd recommend it because also, and like it's definitely a product of its time, and definitely a product of the audience it's trying to it's trying to grab. So like kind of like young male teens basically.
Yeah.
But like even from like the get go, like I was kind of enraptured with like the even before I knew about the Cthulhu mythos. This felt or like I think around the same time as I got into this series, it was like I was getting into the Cthulhu mythos and stuff, and this felt very much like a Call of Cthulhu occult adventure, investigative kind of horror thing.
Yeah.
Just with a love interest, which also kind of like was interesting, like getting into that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, so a flawed but pretty gem, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm getting kind of thirsty. Is it about time to go into the kitchen, get a
Yeah, I
drink?
think so. Yeah, let's go into the kitchen and if any of you are familiar with our kitchen segments from SCP entries and other non-story creepypasta stuff, this is where we go go into the kitchen and try and work up some maybe not creepypasta fodder, but some game fodder, like trying to see how we can make this gameable or how we can use this for inspiration for a story. I feel like a lot of mine are going to be just for gaming stuff.
I
So
think gaming sounds good. So
yep.
you can go ahead and edit in that music. I'm sure you've been working on since last time I did it. So
Yes, we totally have a musical zing for this.
okay. Well,
Moving on,
so,
moving on. um,
so why don't you go ahead and start us off here? Like, what gem have you glimmered from this anime series? It's decades old that you would like
that I've
to.
revisited.
Yeah,
So yeah, like I said, even from the get go, like when I first discovered the manga, I loved the occult investigative horror angle of the series. And rewatching it after a decade or more of being introduced to Call of Cthulhu, and the Cthulhu mythos and like all that kind of stuff, I definitely see a lot of potential for like a Call of Cthulhu campaign or like even some one shots based off of this. Um, Li Ling Ling, the character we mentioned earlier, she's a journalist and like a member of this occult magazine group, like publishing group, in Hong Kong. And I could eat like that's definitely a good like kind of wrap around or framework for a campaign where you're an occult magazine that's going. You're basically Phenom X from Delta Green. They're kind of like a paranormal TV show or media expose sort of group in the Delta Green Call of Cthulhu mythos stuff. That's also the butt of a lot of missions.
yeah,
But you could play as that kind of group. It would definitely give you like an in on like investigating strange mysteries and like dealing with the occult. I actually rewatch like another thing from this time of my introduction to Three by Three Eyes, the manga and stuff like that. I went to Thailand around the time I was discovering Three by Three Eyes and reading the reading up on like Li Ling Ling and her occult magazine stuff. And so when I was down in like Bangkok and Hua Hin in Thailand, we went to a few of the malls and stores there, and they have like racks of occult supernatural magazines, like at least from what I was able to get glean and stuff from like the covers and like when I asked for like a translation of some of the things. So there's definitely you could either do this in like your backyard, like in North America if you're like us and Westerners, or
yeah,
you could set it in like Hong Kong or Thailand or somewhere in Asia, um, and basically have it be like a mid '90s or even like now, like you're an occult magazine that covers a wide range of like cryptid sightings, supernatural occurrences, exorcisms, and demonic possession stuff, and then stumble upon a conspiracy or like a mystery that like goes across like a series where you're suddenly now traveling to Tibet to try and find the lost city of Kunlun, where an ancient race of Triclopses live. And kind of on that, the or is it the whole idea of Kunlun, in the manga and in the anime, they travel through China and into Tibet, searching for the lost city of the Triclopses, like where Kaian Wang has been sealed away, and where it's revealed that like that's basically like the graveyard of all the remaining of all the other Triclopses. But in order to get to it, they travel through the mountains of Tibet and China to get to it, but they ultimately have to go through a cave-like portal to get to a secret location, like a secret like mountain range in another dimension. And the whole time I'm watching this in the show and like rereading the manga, I'm just like, this is just the Plateau of Lang from Call of Cthulhu and the mythos. Because like and you could definitely just do like a Call of Cthulhu game where like you're an occult magazine or a Delta Green agents of some variety, who are tracking down these like less than human agents that are working to try and find the secret access to the Plateau of Lang, but they know it as Kunlun, like through the history and stuff like that. And like you could even like introduce like a servitor race of like Triclopses in Call of Cthulhu mythos. They really wouldn't be that hard. Like you could use you could just basically give them like basically they're like a sorceress race kind of thing. I'm pretty sure there are even like various creatures or like denizens in the mythos and like statted out that you could use. Like the Kinyan kind of come to mind a little bit. The people that live underground in North America, or even the Chocho for if you want to kind of try and redeem that troublesome aspect of Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos.
One of many. One of many. And speaking of the Chocho, which I only say because there's an interesting just kind of verbal connection I just realized for something I was going to bring up. So even some of the spells or some of the summons that we get in the series, like there's a lot of summoning of monsters to do your dirty work or to do things. And there's one that's like basically it's like a crab or insect like demon that is completely invisible, but like is used to like just slash up and slice up your enemies when you need to. And at first, it's basically introduced as a Cthulhu like investigation, like murder investigation, where Li Ling Ling and Yakumo and Pai go to a rich billionaire's mansion because this rich man's been murdered, and his wife is looking to figure out why her husband was murdered. And it's revealed that the murder was like it had like 3 massive gashes, like basically cut him in twain. And then it's discovered that it was actually the butler, I believe, or maybe even the wife herself, who's secretly some kind of like a servitor to Kaian Wang, offed the husband so that they could get more power from the money and stuff, using these invisible insect demon things known as To Chow or the Earth Claw. So like as soon as I was looking at my notes, I realized that was when I finally found the name for them in the manga. I realized that's basically like kind of like a verbal connection between Chocho and To Chow. So yeah,
but yeah, in Call of Cthulhu, there's a spell called Spectral Razor, which is basically like you could flavor it to just be like invisible slashing insect demons that you summon for like a short period of time.
Yeah.
And it basically does the same effect. It's you summon a invisible slashing weapon to attack somebody at range. So like there you go. Yeah, no, it's just I could definitely see pulling fodder from 3x3 Eyes into a Cthulhu or trail, either a Call of Cthulhu, a Trail of Cthulhu, or a Delta Green campaign, either as like the framework, or like as individual one-shot games, or like just kind of borrowing or being inspired by the ideas, like maybe because I don't think there is really a campaign out there that focuses on the Plateau of Lang, right?
I
I'm
think there's things that touch on it, but everything from the plateau is actually just how the plateau affects the real world. So, like, I
yeah
don't think there's anything set there from my knowledge, at least.
yeah. So it would be interesting to have a campaign where like it is the plateau of Lang is kind of like the goal to like they're like you're racing the cultists of like half human half monster people to get to the plateau of Lang because there's some kind of like thing sealed away there. Like maybe it's the tattered high priest or something they're trying to get to, or there's some kind of other thing that you've added, or maybe you can like combine like Kunlun with Plateau of Lang. So there's like some like demon god slumbering on the Plateau of Lang that the monster cult is trying to summon into the real world. So um, yeah, that's kind of what I was able to like glean and like kind of postulate on for a kitchen segment. So Adam, I think I've talked enough.
Oh, it's all
do,
good.
you, do you have anything?
Well, since I haven't rewatched it, I'm a little lacking on certain details like that. But I think I've got two little tidbits, and it's more structural things that one could do in their games. First off, you know how you and I have this problem when I run games like Delta Green and stuff like that. Like you got to get this buy-in to like, why would my character do this? Why am I not just turning around and going the opposite way? And I think it would be fun to borrow from the introduction of 3x3 Eyes and do a role-playing game. Like I'm kind of thinking right now because I was so poorly treated in my last Fear Itself game, but
Aw.
I play it. But I think it would be fun to do a game like Fear Itself where the protagonists encounter something and like a pie like entity, and then all of a sudden they're kind of drawn in to this battle. And I would even go a step further and say, you know how like video games have escort missions? I would treat the entire game like an escort mission. Yeah, you have immortality. Like if you're playing Fear itself, if you get killed, you will be resurrected. You will start coming back together.
Yeah,
Like I'll even probably we'll start doing almost death saving throws for you to regenerate your character. But everybody in the game has got to keep Pi alive, if that
yeah,
makes sense. So I think that would be a really unique deal. And I mean, that could be a story that, I mean, kind of going on tropes that one sees definitely in like anime and stuff like that, like a school field trip.
yeah,
Though I am kind of really touchy about, school age children and stuff like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but, or
It's
college
amazing what
trippers.
happens when you get older and
Yeah.
have kids of your own.
You start looking at it like, damn, it's fucked up. But yeah, you could do an entire game, or it could be just like a one shot or a mini campaign or something like that where you're trying to solve the main pilot character's problem, and you're immortal, but you're still like rolling mundane stats and stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
that would be just kind of a unique little take. My second takeaway from this, and this is all right, Chris, I've been playing this game. I mean, it's been around a little while. I don't know if a lot of people have heard of it, like Dungeons and Dragons. Are you familiar with that game?
Uh, like maybe like I don't know. Is that like that Dungeon World game, but like much crunchier?
Yeah, I think so. And it's got
Okay.
like
Yeah.
if you're a wizard or a cleric, then you might as well have a deck of cards with spells on it because God knows how the hell can a character sheet hold all that shit. But
Yep.
um, I think it would be fun to do a game where you rapidly advance your character. So you could start out being super squishy level 1 through level 3 game,
Hmm.
finish that little small arc, and then do your second part of it, and then boost them up to level 10, level 12, or something like that. So yeah, you start a character out squishy level 1 to 3, you get some kind of conclusion to it, and then you know what? Let that game simmer for a while. Just
Yep.
go to something else and tell everybody you're playing it again. And I think I would honestly have a lot of fun to be able to walk into my gaming group and go, all right, got your character sheets. All right, let's go ahead and take it up a level, 12 or
Yeah.
something like that. And then I think it would be fun just to see all of a sudden, like the glee in your players' eyes that,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're a certifiable badass and you can
Yeah.
do this stuff. but also see the fear in their eyes that, like, it's
We're
kind of
up in
like
the
when,
game now.
yeah, we're up in the game, and oh my God, there's a save point and a weapon store in a video game, so
Yeah.
you're getting ready to fight a boss or something like that.
Yeah, and you could even have like several years of past in play in the fiction, like what happens here, and so like you get like you can even ask like for some vignettes as to like what have they been doing to train and stuff like that in that
Yeah,
period, and like why are you now a level 12 character from a level 3 or 4 character,
yeah,
and it would also be a nice like way to transition from like street level um stuff, which is basically the first couple of stories in 3x3 Eyes, to the kind of like the next level where like where wow, I forgot his name
you,
already. Yakumo is just like it's an episode, it's a scene of it's Die Hard, where like he's like accepting his immortality ability and just kind of running into a fire to like fight a demon with like a blade.
oh
Like
God, that,
he went from like again high school student turned zombie to like um supernatural defender in training to like war or like a like world weary traveler searching for his mistress, I guess.
yeah,
No, saying
mi-
that seems really bad, but it is technically true in the series.
mistresses.
Yeah, mistresses. Yeah, mistress I.
Oh Lord, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's really just the only two things I can go with on it structurally, and I think that it would be fun, and I may actually just kind of put that on the back burner. That would be something. Just definitely the making your characters immortal,
Yeah.
which at the same time, for yourself, you're pretty squishy anyway. So I would really like to see how this survives contact with a player to where you're not going to die, so you're
So
just going to,
how? Yeah.
yeah.
I think the first couple of times I would I'd have them roll stability when they resurrect, because that's still like a horrific, like dying is still horrific.
Hmm.
Um, or like getting, especially the way sometimes Yakumo dies, like he literally gets splatted, but like just completely blown away, like blown apart by a
Yeah,
bus. Or by a monster that just like grabs onto him and just like with incredible strength just splats him on the ground, or like tears off a leg and doesn't chop it off, but like like pulls it off. Like that pain is still there for him for the most part, it seems.
yeah. Yeah, he's not Daredevil. He's not laughing it off.
No, no, not at all. Um, something you brought up with like fear itself. It's like, and I certain another angle. I would like to try um a game that borrows from the idea of like Pai's that pre or that usurped personality.
Hmm.
Like you're playing as these characters, and then some mysterious figure or figures come around, saying that they know you, but like you have no recollection of them or the things they're talking about, and then over the course of the next few hours, like basically your life completely turns upside down as you come to realize that your whole life has been a lie or being manipulated by by some other faction. And so now you're basically trying to like get your memories back, and then again like kind of like at the end, like there's a decision that has to be made, like do you remain the way you are with this, like knowing that you are not the person that's supposed to be in this body, but you are an infiltrator, or like some kind of like a
Parasite.
a parasite. Yeah, that's basically just been like that's been growing and changing and is no longer its original not it's no longer it still has it's no longer has it has free will now, like it's developed um like a emotions for like the characters around it. Do you sacrifice that to so that the true person can be brought back, or do you remain undercover basically,
All right.
and ruin some of your friends' lives?
You know who
Like,
else had this idea?
hmm?
Stephanie Myers.
You're
No
kidding
shit.
me? What?
No,
What?
no. All right, like Twilight Girl. You
Yeah,
know,
I know about
author.
are you talking about her other series, The Host?
Well, it's only one book as far as I can tell, but it was called God, what was it? The
I think it was,
Host.
yeah, The Host. Yeah,
Yeah, where
I
it's
do
like,
remember that. I didn't. I can't. Oh my God, you're right. So I guess somebody else was watching. It was reading Three by Three Eyes.
yeah. Well, I can't like here. All right, internet, just don't go tell anybody this. Like, I have never touched. I was on a book reading committee in school, and I had to read some of Twilight, but I could only make it to. I don't know if you've seen the movies, which if so, I'm sorry. It's
Okay,
basically
so don't tell anybody in this audience. I've watched the first episode, the first movie of Twilight, and I was like, yeah, I don't need to watch the rest of them.
I, I have a wife and I've watched all of them, but like,
I have some sisters, a mother, and an aunt who were all bawling their eyes out reading the series, and then I had a friend like who decided to read the whole series because of his girlfriend, and told me that they were actually interesting and that I should give them a read because they do tackle like vampires like almost as if like horror kind of like horror superheroes. And I was like, no, dude, I'm good. I
I
watched the
want
first movie. I don't want to watch. I don't think I want to read that.
you. That whole story's the Ugly Duckling.
Yeah.
Like, her name is Bella Swan.
Yep.
Like,
And again, nothing against anybody who
yeah.
does
No, we're not
enjoy
gonna
these
knock it,
things.
but
Yeah, but like
I have read The Host. I listened to it on audio. I don't remember why. Like, I had to read the Twilight book and only made it to the part where she was gonna go dress shopping in Seattle, and I was like, "Fuck this!" But I hope
yep.
some other teacher reads this one. But I did listen to the audiobook of The Host just because it seemed like a unique uh, concept of like there's an alien in a person's body and all that, but then the memories of uh, the human that is there, and it also like it's. I don't know why I didn't think of this when we were having the main conversation, but like the host actually has this reverse harem thing kind of going on.
Son
Well,
of a
no, it's not reverse harem. It's a harem. Like,
yeah.
so the girl and the alien both fall in love with a dude.
So it is Three by Three Eyes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Boom. We're blowing the lid off this thing right now.
We know exactly. We're on to you, Stephanie Meyer. You too were a fan of a manga from like the early
Late 80s.
'90s and an anime from the early to mid '90s.
Oh my God. I feel like we've made a revelation. We should probably start our YouTube channel now.
Yep. Sorry,
What?
I believe this is what my my co-hosts on our Patreon specific episodes would go. What a revelation! when they discover something or when they like come up with something like mind blowing.
All right. So, do you have access to a truck?
I have an SUV.
That's close enough. So, like, we should both just start filming videos with our cell phones of us talking in our trucks. Because if social media has told me anything,
Yes.
the smartest commentators on like human society there ever are some redneck sitting in a truck. Like, I don't know why he has a truck.
Or some guys in near Chicago who go to the movie theaters and then sit in their car and review the movie they watched.
Oh God. So yep. I'm sorry I messed up the kitchen. I had to go back in
No,
the other room and pick up like this ghost of a.
pick up a copy of The Host by Stephanie Meyer.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, you kind of nailed it. Also, like I could talk about like how I think that like in Twilight, I think the vampires, based on the one viewing of the first movie, they aren't vampires. They're just serpent people, like from Cthulhu, from the Cthulhu mythos. Like they're straight up like the sparkling is just their scales, and like they're called the cold ones, as in like cold blooded, and like. Yeah, like that's like I could go into a whole tirade of how like I could turn that entire like the first movie into just like into a Cthulhu mythos like scenario and just take the romance stuff right out of it or make it even make it even darker.
So allow me to write a check for you then. Listeners, if you would like to hear us talk about Twilight for no damn reason.
If you do, I mean, go to our Patreon, go to either of our Patreon and become a subscriber, and then send us a note saying that this is the reason you've backed us on Patreon, and I mean, if you're paying us, fuck it. I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm a dirty whore. I'll dance for that money, whatever. But yeah, if like we don't get a lot of comments in this, like we get downloads, we see them, we know people
Yeah.
listen, but like
Or
any
to
kind
our
of
patron, to our patrons that are already helping support the show. If you want to like leave us some notes, leave us some messages, like communicate with us. Like if you want us to do a Patreon episode of this, like on either of our either of our respective podcasts, like by all means, let us know. And I mean, I'll hop onto RPX
yeah.
and I'll drag Adam kicking and screaming to Rigamortis.
Hey, and if you make the money good enough, they also wrote a story of Twilight from a male's perspective and the female's a vampire. So one of us, like, we could have like this dual thing. Matt, let me tell you, if I have to read that shit, like, first off, you owe me at least enough.
If I have to read it, you have to read it. I'm going down. You're going down with me.
If there's money, like we've got to get enough money to at least pay for an Audible credit. Like I'm not even talking about our pain and suffering. But
yeah, I'll listen to that audiobook. I guess if I have to, if I'm being
I know
paid.
I couldn't. She's still gonna go to get a dress when I left off. It was an audiobook.
Oh God.
I was mowing the yard while doing it, and I can remember going under a tree going, why is there like 3 chapters for her crying in her room about Edward? F Edward. I had to say it, guys, because my kids just walked in the house. But
Yeah.
Anyway, that was our shameless plug.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get back to the world of anime for a second.
All right.
So yeah, like I could definitely see I think so Fear Itself, like you're playing somebody, you're basically playing like you're playing a hijacker of somebody else's body.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my horror scenario based off of the last storyline from the second arc of 3x3 Eyes.
Kids on Bikes would be a much better one too.
Would it?
I think about Kids on Bikes because there's actually a non-player character kind of built into those games that has like special abilities. So you know how like in most of like the 80s movies or something like that with a group of kids, there's one that has like telekinesis or something like that. There's mechanics already built in for your pie character if you would like to where. And then you know what?
They have to post that on RPX.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to break out Kids on Bikes for a while. It's a really simple and elegant system. There is to plug another podcast. I wasn't signed because they're obviously better than me, but there's a really nice series if you're curious about Kids on Bikes called Bike Brigade. I've listened to it quite a bit, and it's a Kids on Bikes kind of scenario. But
sorry, did you say Bike Brigade or Best Pal Brigade?
Yeah, a Bike Brigade.
Okay.
And because they were just calling themselves Kids on Bikes as a podcast, I think, and then I'm sure someone said something, or they decided to kind of switch their brand up a tad bit.
Yeah, it's like that's like if somebody like called their podcast Little Fears and then ran nothing but Little Fears.
Yeah, it kind of makes it seem official, but yeah, you could to kind of, and I apologize for jumping in. I just have to speak, or it goes out of my head. But if you did a game like that, and then you could even, I mean, I still don't like the idea of resurrecting kids all the time and stuff like that. But if your table
doesn't have to be kids, it could be like late teens. I mean, to be fair, Yakumo is like 17,
drunks on bikes, and they all lost their license. And now
oh my God. We just run it like they're like in their 20s.
Yeah, they're all washed out. And
I mean, to be fair, if we're being honest, most TV shows that have teens, they're really just in their 20s.
Oh yeah.
So,
you're sure, Sarah Michelle Gellar, you're 16.
Yeah, you're exactly. Yeah, I could definitely get behind that. The only thing that's been like holding me back from wow, I almost said men on bikes.
Sounds like a review of sorts. Like they're gonna pedal out there, ring that little bell.
Oh God!
On the catwalk. I was keep going.
Yeah. So the only thing that's been keeping me from that is because I kind of just saw it as like another Little Fears, and I love Little Fears to death. So, but I'd be willing to give it a shot.
Okay. Well, I think I got my homework, so I'll work on that.
I will try not metagame the fact that my character is not actually character, or are you thinking of the immortal? Or you're thinking about the immortal one, right?
Yeah, the immortal one is just as a GM controlled character. Everyone
Yeah.
else is just you can use that character. Like I'm going to ask her to lift this. Okay, like you can there is a mechanic of using the special kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
you could basically take that engine and run
Oh, I
Stranger
just realized
Things.
that. Yeah, I was going to say that's basically also like that's ET kind of. That's Stranger
The
Things, like you said.
extraterrestrial.
Yes, ET the extraterrestrial. Oh, that's good. That's got to go up in the annals of Al dente Rigamortis RPX in jokes. It's also now I think about it, Dreamcatcher, like because the main all the kids like all the characters in that one, like all the main characters, when they were growing up, they were friends with like a like kind of a with a special boy
Hmm.
who gave them like kind of it's I think at least in the movie, I'm not sure about the book, that he gave them their psychic powers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically kind of like that. It's like a have like an anchoring like origin or progenitor of their of like the what's unique about the characters.
Oh God, man, we could go on this for
We
days.
could go on this for yeah. We're already at like an hour and a half probably or so. Um, but yeah, so and also for like creepypasta stuff because this is Al dente rigor mortis. Honestly, the going back to the idea of like an occult magazine editorial thing, I would actually like to see that a little bit. I'd like to see that kind of like framework for like rather than like it always being a detective or like a police officer investigating something creepy, or like having random children or teens going and investigating something they really shouldn't be investigating. What about like journalists or uh or like somebody who's in like a field that like is their job is to like to
Oh,
find
cl-
cryptids like for like the what is the
no, no,
Weekly
no.
World News, the Bat Boy newspaper
Yeah.
tabloid.
Oh, I got it.
um
I got it.
there's that. Okay,
You
yeah.
could do claims adjusters for an insurance company, and you're just
Oh,
going out going and like they keep saying, "Oh, yep, this building got destroyed." You go out there and there's Sasquatch.
it's like son of yeah. Or it's like,
I'm sorry.
yeah, or yeah, there's like a building's been destroyed, and like you get in, and there's just horrifying like organic tendrils of like plant matter and like flesh, kind of like just like lining, like that's been like just killed, like whatever it was killed by some other thing, and you're like, what the fuck did this? What is this?
No,
Like
I
it
I
always
can't.
goes down to like being this like I want to see the story about the city workers that are dealing with the aftermath of an anime.
Yeah, the visceral cleanup crew that's going
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Um, Actually, what's interesting is Yuzo Takada did another series called Blue Seed. It was another manga series and anime series that kind of made the circuits around English dubs and stuff during around the time that 3x3 Eyes was. I got it again in true anime 90s like exposure fashion. I saw an episode or two of it from a borrowed VHS tape from my friend's older sister. um, so and it was basically it's in a nutshell, it's Delta Green fighting the mythos, except the mythos is these weird dead or like long forgotten and sleeping Japanese gods that are like biomutation, or like they basically like biomutate humans into monsters
Hmm.
using these special like spirit seeds that are basically like it's actually like a special kind of like bead in
I,
Japanese culture.
I think I've seen
um
this.
yeah, and it's like a lot of them are like plant or insect based, but like it kind of like shows Yuzo Takada's like kind of fondness for how he designs demons and monsters in like 3x3 Eyes, and even in Blue Seed, where they're some kind of like horrid extrapolation off of like insects and plants. Um,
Hmm.
and it focuses around a girl who's like was given one of these seeds, but it doesn't mutate her. In fact, it's like it has the exact opposite effect. So she's like the destined savior because she's able to counteract the monsters. And then she's got a monster ally, and there's an organization that works for the government that's trying to secretly fight off these monsters as they come into play in Tokyo. And so, yeah, it's basically like Delta Green. Whereas 3x3 Eyes would be a Call of Cthulhu kind of game, I feel like Blue Seed would basically be the Delta Green game. But just as like another thing, like if we one day, go to Blue Seed,
Yeah.
maybe.
Hey, I could do that. I could do Blue Seed. Or I was expecting Gantz anytime soon, but
Yeah, well, Gantz, I think we should do that on your show, because I think that would be a good episode to talk about Eclipse Phase, like just wholeheartedly just Eclipse Phase and stuff like that with Gantz, because that's straight up, I think, the best system for that game, for gamifying that series.
Oh, I agree.
So yeah, I think that's. I don't think there's much else to be said, unless you have something.
No, I think I've exhausted myself.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. Like honestly, like it's one of those things that I 3x3 Eyes was one of those anime series that kind of was definitely popped up on my radar during those formative years of like getting into anime, getting into horror, getting into like not creepypasta, but like kind of the early stuff. Like I think this is also around the time I started getting into horror, so I started getting into like the urban legends and scary stories and stuff like that. So just to kind of tie it back in,
Yeah.
and then again, like kind of hunting down all 8 of the anime of the manga that I could in English, and then just kind of forgetting about it for a few years, and then coming back to it. It's been an interesting little trip. And I'm thankful that I listened to your interview with the guys from Kame House Party and Thinking Too Hard About Anime to kind of help spark that back into my life. So
it's my pleasure. I've had a great time sitting down and talking about this today.
Yeah. So I guess that will be it. So Adam, would you like to add, or would you like to plug any kind of things that you and your podcast are doing?
Okay, sure thing. So, yeah, I do the Roleplaying Exchange. It is www.roleplayingexchange.com. We have a Podbean, but I basically bought a website. So, you can go to either one of them, catch all our stuff currently, which by the time this drops, probably not current anymore. But I work a lot with Al Dente Rigamortis and One Last Dive. We've got a series going on together for Little Fears that review Cultist has ran for us, and I had a blast. And so you can actually catch those episodes on either Roleplaying Exchange or One Last Die. It's actually the same episode. It's actually the same host. I'm just putting it in the feed. You can also find us on Twitter at rpxchange .com or at RPX Exchange. You can tell I'm brain dead. And we are also on Facebook and of course, every episode we update, we put it on there. But Twitter's, I'm much more active on it. But yeah, you can find us at facebook.com / the Roleplaying Exchange. And also we have a Patreon, patreon.com / Roleplaying Exchange. And if you would like to hear us talk about Twilight and the mirror episode where all of a sudden I don't even know the name of the protagonist. If you want to hear us like do this, know that you're hurting us, and like, do you like hurting people, kind of thing like that. But B, we're gonna dance for that money. So if you want to grease the wheels on this operation, if you will, then please submit your blood money to us, and we would greatly appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I guess I should also, I might definitely appreciate the extra support on posting One Less Dies episodes to RPX. And like Adam said, yeah, if you jump onto our Patreon and send us and then send us a note saying that you backed because you wanted to hear us talk about Twilight. I mean, I'm sure, like, it's basically one step removed from a creepypasta, so I'll do it. It definitely won't be the worst thing I've read. I hope
it will be the worst debating thing I've done for money.
And like Adam kind of brought up, yes, on top of doing Al Dente Rigamortis, guys, I and my co-host, my regular co-hosts, and some friends from off the podcast, we run a lot of tabletop games. It's probably one of the reasons why I've kind of connected with like Roleplaying Exchange and some of our other affiliate podcasts of RPGs and tabletop gaming and stuff. So we do have another podcast, a sister podcast of Al Dente Rigamortis called One Less Die, a Shadowrun and gaming actual play podcast. We currently have a Shadowrun campaign that we've been running for about a year now, and a Call of Cthulhu D20 game which was the first Cthulhu campaign I ever ran and finished. And it's basically intermittent, like every other week is one of those episodes. So if you like Shadowrun, if you like magic, if you like cyberpunk, if you like horror investigation in the 1920s, if you want to know a little bit more about Little Fears, at the time of this getting posted, it'll probably, all those episodes will probably have already gone up on RPX and One Less Die. So you can just go check them out there. Yeah, for Al Dente Rigamortis, if you'd like to get a hold of us, like leave us comments or comments at all, you can go to Al Dente Rigamortis on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, Twitter. I'm at Review Cultist, and I'm kind of the prominent host of Al Dente Rigamortis that talks about Al Dente and posts when episodes go up and such. So yeah, you can hit me up there. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Yes, I know we have a typo in the name. We're hypocrites. And from there, you can send us emails with for suggestions of other creepypastas or spooky internet content. Cryptids that you want us to talk about, turn into creepypastas or game fodder, an anime series that you'd like us to discuss. I think I might end up having the Kame House Party guys return to the show to talk about My Hero Academia, because I got some words about that world. And there's actually some parts of that world that are kind of creepypasta-esque. So, yeah, we'll do another episode of Anime Rigamortis if you are into that kind of thing. And you can also go to our Patreon and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier currently, and either one that you decide to support us at, just send us a note if you want us to do Twilight, and I guess I'll do Twilight.
It's funny what we do to ourselves, isn't it?
Yes. And we're joking, or we joke about like the begrudgingness of it, but like honestly, thank you to our patrons that are helping support the show, because regardless of why you came and helped to support the show, you're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we always appreciate that. Thank you so much. To the listeners of our show, and I guess the creators of the content we're discussing, thank you immensely. For our listeners, for if you didn't talk to us, if you didn't we didn't get feedback from you, it would just feel like we're talking into the void, like Adam said earlier. You definitely help motivate the show. And I guess to the creator of 3x3 Eyes, Yuzo Takada, if for some reason you're listening to this English podcast, thank you immensely, because without your tales of the occult and lost races of monsters and a boy turned into a zombie, we really wouldn't have much of a show right now. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. So until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I've been Adam, and I will be tomorrow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis presents Anime Rigamortis. Sleep well.
Bye-bye.